Captain Jiho pressed his hands against the cold metal railing of his ship's bridge and watched the massive alien structure grow bigger on his screen. The thing was huge, like a metal spider web stretched across the darkness of space. Its shiny surfaces caught the light from 3 different suns and threw it back in patterns that hurt to look at. His crew of 20 humans felt very small as they flew toward it. Admiral Nari had picked Jiho for this job because he stayed calm when things got bad, and because he was good at thinking about fights before they happened. Now, as they got closer to meeting aliens for the first time, those skills were going to be tested real hard. The radio made crackling sounds, and alien voices started talking, in perfect English. Their computers could change alien words into human words without any problems. "Welcome, primitive ones," came a voice that sounded like it was trying not to laugh. "We are the Vexari Empire, and we rule the western part of this galaxy. You can park your little ship in Section 97 with the other baby species that are still learning how to fly in space." Lieutenant Yuna looked up from her communication station with anger burning in her eyes, but she kept quiet. The aliens were not even trying to hide how much they looked down on humans. Through the big window, they could see warships that were as big as entire cities. Their metal sides were covered with marks that showed how many worlds they had conquered inside. The space station, the making fun of humans, got even worse. Alien creatures pointed at the human visitors with things that worked like fingers. They made clicking and buzzing sounds in languages that sounded like broken machines grinding against each other. The Zenthari representative was a being made of crystal formations that sparkled when it moved. It talked without moving. What might have been its mouth. "These creatures still use chemical rockets to fly through space," it announced to all. The other aliens gathered around their weapons shoot pieces of metal at their enemies. How wonderfully old-fashioned and stupid Commander Tae Yang was, Earth's military officer, and he kept his face blank while laughter echoed through the big chamber. He did not let the aliens see how angry their words made him. The Corvani delegate looked like a giant bug with too many eyes. It clicked its jaw parts together in what counted as laughing for its kind of creature. "Do they even have energy shields to protect their ships?" it asked. "Maybe they still fight wars with pointed sticks made of wood, too." The human visitors had to listen to this treatment for 3 whole days. Every time they tried to show the aliens something about Earth's technology, the aliens would chuckle and shake their heads. Their requests to make trade deals were brushed away like annoying insects. The aliens treated them like little children who had wandered into a grown-up conversation by mistake. But Captain Jiho noticed something very important that the aliens completely missed. In their pride and feeling of being better than everyone else, they told the humans everything about their technology, their ship designs, and how they fought wars. They talked freely about their weapons and shields because they thought the primitive humans could not possibly understand any of it or ever be dangerous to them. Lieutenant Yuna recorded everything she heard and saw. Her anger slowly changed into cold determination. They watched the alien ships through the station's observation windows. She wrote down how they moved, what kind of energy they used, and what looked like weak points in their designs. The aliens feeling so superior was making them careless about what secrets they revealed. On the last day, the Galactic Council told Earth what they had decided humanity would be granted the status of a protected developing world. This meant they could trade for basic technologies, but they were forbidden from expanding beyond their home solar system. Any violation of this rule would result in immediate military action against Earth. "Return to your little planet," the Vexari commander said with obvious amusement in his voice. "Play with your chemical rockets and metal bullets. Perhaps in a few thousand years you will be ready to join real civilization." The human delegation left in what looked like defeat. Their small ship looked tiny next to the alien structures around them. The 3 galaxy-spanning empires had made their position very clear. Humanity was nothing more than an interesting curiosity, too primitive to pose any threat or deserve any respect. But as their ship turned toward the edge of the star system, Captain Jiho smiled for the first time in days. The aliens had given them something far more valuable than technology or trade agreements. They had given them detailed intelligence about their enemies' capabilities, and more importantly, their blind spots and weaknesses. The journey back to Earth would take 6 months. Jiho spent every day of that trip writing detailed reports. He analyzed everything they had seen and heard. The aliens' technology was impressive, but it was also predictable. It followed patterns that suggested they had grown lazy and overconfident after winning easy victories for thousands of years. The alien ships all used the same kinds of shields. The alien weapons all worked the same way. The alien tactics were all based on scaring weaker enemies into giving up without a fight. They had not fought a real war against someone who could fight back in so long that they had forgotten how to do it properly. When they finally reached Earth's solar system, Admiral Nari was waiting with an encrypted message. The HFY message was short, but it meant enormous changes were coming. Project Deep Strike is approved. Begin Phase 1. Immediately, Captain Jiho read those words and felt something cold and determined settle in his chest. The 3 galaxies had laughed at humanity's primitive nature. They thought chemical rockets and metal bullets were funny. They would soon learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate completely. Earth had been watching and learning. The aliens had shown them everything they needed to know to win a war. The aliens had no idea what they had just started by treating humans like stupid children who could never be a threat. The mockery was over. Now the real work would begin. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities. They were about to discover they knew nothing at all about what humans could do when they decided to prove everyone wrong. Admiral Nari had plans that would turn alien laughter into screams of fear plans. That would show 3 entire galaxies that humanity demanded respect. Plans that would make sure no one ever made the mistake of underestimating Earth again. The war had not started yet, but the first battle was already won. The aliens had given away all their secrets while thinking they were just having fun at humanity's expense. They would regret that mistake for whatever time they had left. 2 years had passed since the humiliation at the Galactic Council Station, but Admiral Nari had not been sitting around doing nothing. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in facilities that did not exist on any official maps, humanity's greatest minds worked day and night on Project Deep Strike. The alien mockery had awakened something deep in human nature. The burning need to prove everyone wrong. Dr. Sora led the weapons development team in an underground complex that stretched for many kilometers, beneath the ocean floor. Her team had spent months studying the energy patterns they had recorded from alien ships. The creatures from 3 galaxies used shield frequencies that followed predictable patterns. They apparently never expected anyone to study their defenses closely enough to find weaknesses. Their energy barriers operate on rotating frequency patterns. She explained to the team gathered around her. They are incredibly strong against normal energy weapons, but they have a fatal flaw. The rotation creates tiny gaps that last only microseconds, but we can exploit them. Engineer Dong Hyun had solved the problem of making ships go fast in a way that would have shocked the aliens instead of trying to copy their exotic matter. Drives, he had taken human chemical rockets and pushed them to their absolute limits. The new fusion-boosted engines could make human ships accelerate to incredible speeds in short bursts. This created tactical advantages the aliens had never encountered. In battle speed kills, he said simply, their ships are powerful but slow. They are built for showing off, not for fighting. Fast, small targets that can move quickly. Meanwhile, Captain Jiho had been promoted to Commodore and given command of humanity's first battle fleet. The ships looked nothing like the gleaming alien vessels they had seen. Human warships were dark and angular, built for function over form. Each one carried experimental weapons that existed nowhere else in the galaxy, the most Important ship in the fleet was the battleship Indomitable under the command of Captain Mina. Her ship carried the prototype quantum disruptor cannon, a weapon that could punch through alien shields by hitting them at multiple frequencies at the same time. The weapon had never been tested in real combat, but computer simulations showed it could devastate enemy vessels. Destroyer Captain Hyunwoo commanded a squadron of fast attack ships designed for hit-and-run tactics. His vessels carried normal missiles that had been upgraded with technology learned from studying alien equipment. This created weapons that looked primitive, but hit with unexpected force. The aliens expected energy beams and exotic particles, not kinetic projectiles. Moving at speeds close to light in secret shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt. Admiral Nari oversaw the construction of humanity's ace in the hole, a fleet of stealth ships that were invisible to alien sensors. The technology came from studying how the aliens detected threats, then designing ships that operated completely outside those detection methods. The Galactic Council had forbidden human expansion beyond Earth's solar system, but they had made a crucial mistake. They assumed humans would obey. Instead, the restriction had given humanity 2 years to prepare without any alien interference or observation. Lieutenant Commander Sarah worked with intelligence teams to identify the aliens' most vulnerable targets. The three empires controlled vast territories, but their forces were spread thin across hundreds of star systems. They relied on their reputation for being unbeatable rather than actual military presence in most areas. They have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years, Sarah reported. Their tactics are designed for intimidating primitives, not engaging in actual combat with determined opponents who know how to fight back. The breakthrough came when Dr. Sora's team cracked the aliens' communication protocols. Not only could they intercept enemy messages, but they could also inject false information into alien networks. The stage was set for a deception campaign that would catch the three empires completely off guard. Captain Jiho studied star maps that showed alien patrol routes, supply lines, and command centers. The creatures who had laughed at human primitiveness had revealed their entire strategic structure during those 3 days of mockery. They had never imagined that the primitive humans were capable of remembering and analyzing everything they had seen. Construction of the battle fleet accelerated as more resources flowed into the project. Earth's entire industrial capacity had been quietly redirected toward military production. Every human colony in the solar system contributed materials and personnel to the effort. The aliens believed they were dealing with a species that was barely capable of leaving their home planet. They had no idea that humanity had been expanding throughout their solar system for decades, building infrastructure and industrial capacity that rivaled anything in the 3 galaxies. Factories on Mars produced armor plating stronger than anything the aliens used. Mining operations in the asteroid belt extracted rare materials needed for the new weapons. Systems throughout the outer planets manufactured components for ships that would soon carry war to the stars. As the final preparations neared completion, Admiral Nari gathered her senior commanders for a classified briefing. The room fell silent as she activated the holographic display showing alien positions throughout local space. "The enemy expects nothing from us except submission," she said. "They are about to learn that humans do not submit. We adapt. We overcome. And we never forget an insult." The fleet was ready. The weapons were tested. The intelligence was gathered. All that remained was to choose the perfect moment to show the 3 galaxies what humanity was truly capable of when pushed to its limits. Captain Mina looked at her new ship and felt pride swell in her chest. The Indomitable was beautiful in the way that only a perfectly designed weapon could be beautiful. Every line of her hull spoke of deadly purpose. Every system had been optimized for one goal: winning battles against impossible odds. Engineer Dong Yun ran final tests on the new propulsion systems. His engines could push human ships to accelerations that would crush alien crews who had grown soft from centuries of easy victories. Human pilots trained in high-gravity environments could handle forces that would kill their enemies. Dr. Sora watched her quantum disruptors charge up for the first time outside of laboratory conditions. The weapons hummed with barely contained power ready to punch through shields that the aliens thought were impenetrable. The aliens had 3 galaxies worth of ships and weapons. They had technology that seemed like magic to most species. They had conquered thousands of worlds and never known defeat. But they had never faced humans who had been insulted and given 2 years to think about it. The preparation phase was ending. Soon, it would be time to show the galaxy what happened when you made the mistake of underestimating Earth. The Vexari patrol fleet drifted lazily through the Centauri system like giant metal whales swimming through the darkness of space. Their massive ships glowed with the confident display of a civilization that had never known defeat. Commander Zektar lounged in his command chamber, entertained by reports from the frontier worlds. The primitive humans were apparently still trapped in their home system, exactly as the Galactic Council had planned. Any word from the Earth monitoring station, he asked his communications officer while examining his claws. Nothing unusual, Commander. The humans continue their pathetic chemical rocket experiments. Our observers report no signs of advanced development. What Commander Zektar did not know was that those observers had been feeding him false information for months. Human intelligence operatives had compromised their communication networks. The real human fleet was already in position, having used stealth technology to slip past alien detection systems. Like ghosts in the night, Commodore Jiho watched the enemy ships from his hidden position behind Proxima Centauris, largest asteroid. The Vexari fleet consisted of 12 massive vessels, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built before. Starting Project Deep Strike. Their shields glowed with confident energy. Their weapon systems were powered down in the universal display of contempt for local threats. All ships report ready, came the voice of Captain Mina from the battleship Indomitable. Her quantum disruptor cannon was charged and targeted on the enemy flagship, a vessel so large it looked more like a space station than a warship. Begin Phase 1. Jiho commanded. The attack began with silence. Human missiles launched from concealed positions throughout the asteroid field. Their stealth coatings made them invisible to alien sensors until the final seconds before impact. The Vexari ships detected the incoming projectiles, too late to raise full defensive barriers. Explosions bloomed across alien hulls like deadly flowers as kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speeds punched through partially activated shields. The impacts were not enough to destroy the massive ships, but they accomplished something far more important. They got the aliens' attention and made them very, very angry. Impossible, Commander Zektar roared as damage reports flooded his command center. These are primitive weapons. How are they penetrating our defenses? The answer came in the form of Captain Mina's quantum disruptor cannon. The experimental weapon fired what looked like a single energy beam, but actually consisted of dozens of different frequencies hitting the target at the same time. The Vexari flagship's shields were designed to rotate through defensive frequencies, but they could not adapt fast enough to handle multiple attacks at once. The beam punched through the alien vessel's defenses like a spear through paper and carved a glowing channel through its hull from front to back. Secondary explosions rippled along the massive ship's length as critical systems overloaded and failed. The vessel that had seemed completely unbeatable moments before now listed heavily to one side with its engines failing, Captain Hyun Woo's destroyer. Squadron emerged from the asteroid field like a pack of hunting wolves. Their smaller ships moved with deadly precision. The aliens tried to target them with massive energy weapons designed for ship-to-ship combat between large vessels, but the human ships were too small and fast, darting between enemy fire like angry insects swarming around giants. Target their engine clusters. Hyunwoo commanded his ships. fired conventional missiles that had been enhanced with technology derived from alien equipment. This created weapons that combined familiar human engineering with exotic effects the aliens had never seen from primitive species. The Vexari fleet found itself facing an opponent that fought completely unlike anything in their long experience. Instead of engaging in the traditional pattern of massive ships exchanging fire at long range, the humans used swarm tactics. They overwhelmed individual targets with coordinated attacks from multiple directions at the same time. Commander Zektar watched in growing disbelief as his superior force was systematically torn apart by enemies he had dismissed as barely capable of spaceflight. His massive ships designed to intimidate through size and raw power were being outmaneuvered by vessels a fraction of their size. "Send a priority message to Fleet Command," he ordered, with panic creeping into his voice. "The humans are not what they appear to be. Their technology level has been severely underestimated. We need reinforcements immediately," but that message would never reach its destination. Human electronic warfare specialists had been listening to alien communications for months, learning to disrupt and control enemy networks. The distress signal was intercepted and replaced, with routine patrol reports indicating that everything was completely normal. Within 3 hours, the entire Vexari patrol fleet had been destroyed or disabled beyond repair. Not a single human ship was lost, though several had taken damage from the aliens' powerful weapons before their shields failed. The victory was complete, but more importantly, it was invisible to the rest of the galaxy. Captain Sarah's intelligence team immediately went to work, planting evidence that the fleet had been destroyed by a natural phenomenon. They created false data suggesting a gamma-ray burst had caught the patrol unprepared. The aliens' own arrogance worked against them, as the 3 galactic empires found it easier to believe in cosmic accidents than in human military capability. Commodore Jiho surveyed the wreckage of ships that had seemed invincible just hours before. The aliens' technology was certainly impressive, but their tactics were completely predictable. They were based on thousands of years of fighting inferior opponents who gave up quickly. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy that could adapt, innovate, and fight back effectively. Phase 1 is complete, he reported to Admiral Nari back on Earth. The enemy believes their patrol was lost to natural causes. They suspect nothing. The first blood had been drawn, but this was only the very beginning. The 3 galaxies had laughed at human primitiveness, never imagining that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who learns from humiliation and comes back stronger than anyone expected. More alien patrols would disappear over the coming months. Each loss would be explained by convenient accidents or natural phenomena. The aliens would never realize they were being hunted by an enemy they had created through their own arrogance and contempt. The human fleet slipped away into the darkness of space as quietly as it had arrived, leaving behind only wreckage and confusion. Soon the aliens would start to notice patterns in their losses. But by then, it would be far too late to stop what humanity had set in motion. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now Earth was laughing back, but with the cold humor of predators who had found their prey. News of the Centauri incident spread through alien intelligence networks like ripples in a pond, but the interpretation was exactly what humanity had hoped for. The 3 galactic empires accepted the cover story about a gamma-ray burst destroying the Vexari patrol fleet. They filed it away as another example of the dangerous but predictable hazards of deep space exploration. However, not everyone was convinced Admiral Kexnari of the Zenthari crystalline fleet had been studying patrol loss. Statistics and patterns were emerging that troubled her analytical mind. 12 major fleet accidents in the past 6 months, all in sectors near the primitive human homeworld, seemed statistically very unlikely to be coincidence. Run a deep analysis. On the wreckage patterns, she instructed her science officer, "I want to know if these losses are truly accidental or if something else is happening." Meanwhile, in the hidden shipyards of the asteroid belt, Admiral Nari was overseeing the construction of humanity's most ambitious project, yet Project Revelation, a fleet designed not for stealth attacks, but for open battle against the combined might of three galactic empires. Dr. Sora had perfected her quantum disruptor technology, creating weapons that could be mass-produced and mounted on ships of all sizes. The new Mark 7 disruptors could punch through any known alien shield configuration, turning humanity's technological disadvantage into a strategic advantage through pure innovation. The key is unpredictability, she explained to the assembled fleet commanders. The aliens have optimized their defenses against known weapon types over thousands of years. They have never faced anything like our hybrid technology that combines their own principles with human engineering. Captain Mina had been promoted to admiral and given command of the new battle fleet. Her flagship, the Earth's Wrath, was a vessel that would have impressed even the arrogant aliens if they had been allowed to see it built. Using principles learned from captured alien technology but enhanced with uniquely human innovations, it was fast, powerful, and absolutely deadly. The human fleet had grown from a handful of experimental vessels to over 200 warships, of various classes, all built in secret facilities throughout the solar system. Earth's entire civilization had been quietly transformed into a military-industrial complex focused on a single goal, making the three galaxies regret their contempt. And mockery? Captain Hyunwoo now commanded a squadron of heavy cruisers equipped with the latest human technology. His ships looked brutal and functional compared to the elegant alien vessels, but they were designed by people who understood that in war function mattered infinitely more than beauty. The breakthrough that changed everything came when Lieutenant Commander Sarah's intelligence team intercepted communications, revealing the location of the Corvani Empire's regional command center. The facility, located in the Kepler system, controlled military operations across 30 star systems and was considered absolutely secure by alien standards. It's defended by a full battle fleet. Sarah reported 15 capital ships plus support vessels and orbital defense platforms. The aliens consider it completely impregnable. They have never been attacked there in over 500 years. Admiral Nari studied the intelligence data with the cold calculation of someone who had spent 2 years planning for exactly this moment. The Kepler facility was not just a military target, it was a symbol of alien superiority. Its destruction would send a message that could no longer be ignored or explained away as natural accidents. The time for stealth. "Operations is over," she announced to her senior staff. "The aliens are starting to suspect something is wrong with all their patrol losses. We need to move before they can prepare properly for what we really are." The decision was made to abandon secrecy. Entirely, Operation Revelation would be humanity's announcement to the galaxy that Earth was no longer a primitive backwater to be ignored. The three empires would learn that their mockery had serious consequences that they were not prepared to face as the human battle fleet assembled for its first open engagement. Admiral Kexnaris' investigation was finally bearing fruit. Analysis of wreckage patterns from the supposed accidents revealed weapon signatures that matched no known natural phenomenon or alien technology in their databases. These ships were destroyed by directed energy weapons using multiple frequency harmonics, her science officer reported. "This technology does not exist anywhere in our records. It is completely unknown, Admiral." Kexnaris' crystalline structure flickered with the colors that indicated deep thought among her species. The implications were staggering if her suspicions were correct. Someone had been systematically hunting their fleets, and they had been doing it without anyone noticing until now. "Send a priority alert to all 3 galactic councils," she ordered. "We may have a new player in the game, and they have been hunting our fleets without us knowing it. The threat level could be significant." But her warning would come too late. Even as her message was being transmitted across the galaxy, Admiral Naris' battle fleet was emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Their weapons were charged, their crews were ready, and their determination was absolute. The human ships moved in perfect formation toward their target. The time for hiding in shadows was over. The aliens had spent years laughing at human primitiveness. Now they would face the consequences of underestimating a species that turned humiliation into determination and contempt into motivation for greatness. The Corvani defenders detected the approaching fleet, but they still did not understand what they were seeing. 15 unknown vessels approaching their most secure facility. The aliens assumed this was either a mistake or some kind of suicide mission by desperate pirates. They had no idea they were about to witness the birth of a new galactic power. The humans were no longer hiding their capabilities. The real war was about to begin, and the three galaxies were completely unprepared for what humanity had become during 2 years of secret preparation. The galaxy had laughed at primitive Earth. Now primitive Earth was coming to show them exactly how dangerous laughter could be when directed at the wrong species. The Corvani command fleet detected the human approach when Admiral Nara's forces were still 3 light minutes from the Kepler systems. Outer defenses, Fleet Commander Haxor, a massive insectoid being with razor-sharp mandibles and compound eyes, that could track dozens of targets at the same time, initially dismissed the readings as sensor errors or equipment malfunction. 15 unidentified ships approaching on attack vector. His tactical officer reported configuration unknown but size. Suggests primitive construction, possibly salvage technology. Commander Haxor clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his species. Probably pirates using stolen equipment and scrap metal to build their ships. Deploy a patrol squadron to deal with them. The rest of the fleet can continue their defensive exercises as planned. What he did not understand was that those 15 primitive ships were the most advanced warships humanity had ever constructed. Admiral Mina's flagship Earths. Wrath led a battle formation that had been designed specifically to counter everything the aliens considered superior about their technology and tactics. All ships, this is Admiral Mina, came the voice across the human fleet's communication network. Remember, we are not just fighting for victory today. We are fighting to show 3 entire galaxies that humanity demands respect and will no longer tolerate being treated as primitive children. The first exchange of fire came when the Corvani patrol squadron moved to intercept what they assumed were easy targets. 6 alien vessels, each one larger and more heavily armed than any human ship, advanced with the casual confidence of predators approaching helpless prey that could not possibly fight. Back Captain Taeyang, now commanding the heavy cruiser. Soul's Pride waited until the aliens were well within range before opening fire. His quantum disruptor batteries unleashed focused energy beams that bypassed the aliens' rotating shield frequencies, entirely punching through their defenses as if they were made of paper instead of advanced alien materials. The lead Corvani ship simply ceased to exist, its hull vaporized by weapons the aliens had never imagined were possible from such a primitive species. The remaining patrol vessels tried to retreat in panic, but Captain Hyunwoo's fast attack squadron was already moving to cut off their escape routes with precision timing. Target their engines first, Hyunwoo commanded. We want survivors to report what they have seen back to their commanders. The battle was over in minutes, with 5 of the 6 patrol ships disabled and drifting helplessly through space, leaking atmosphere and energy. The single survivor was deliberately allowed to escape, carrying news that would transform the tactical situation throughout the entire star system. Commander Haxor received the patrol leader's panicked transmission with growing disbelief and horror. Impossible weapons that ignore our shields. Coordinated tactics we have never seen before. They destroyed our ships like they were made of cheap metal instead of battle-tested armor. For the first time in his long military career spanning over 2 centuries, Commander Haxor felt something completely alien to his warrior species' fear. But he was also a veteran fighter who had conquered dozens of star systems for the Corvani Empire. Fear made him dangerous and determined, not weak and helpless. All ships to battle stations, he ordered with authority. cutting through his uncertainty. Deploy the orbital defense platforms. Charge all weapon systems. If these creatures want to fight, they will get one. They will never forget. The main human fleet advanced into the system like a spear thrust directly. At the heart of alien arrogance, Admiral Mina's ships moved in formations the aliens had never seen, using tactics developed specifically to counter the overwhelming firepower advantage that larger vessels normally possessed in traditional galactic warfare. The Corvani defense platforms opened fire, first unleashing torrents of plasma energy that could have vaporized entire asteroids or small moons. But the human ships were not where the automated targeting systems expected them to be having. Used their superior acceleration to change course at the last possible second, execute pattern Delta Admiral Mina commanded, and her fleet split into smaller groups that attacked the orbital defenses from multiple angles simultaneously. The aliens found themselves trying to track dozens of fast-moving targets instead of engaging in the traditional formation battle they had trained for over centuries. Dr. Soros' quantum disruptors proved devastatingly effective against the static defense platforms. The alien installations had powerful shields designed to deflect the massive energy weapons typically used in galactic warfare, but they could not adapt quickly enough to weapons that struck on multiple frequencies simultaneously. One by one, the orbital platforms went silent, their twisted wreckage tumbling toward the planet below. Commander Haxor watched in growing horror as defensive systems that had protected the Kepler facility for over 3 centuries were systematically dismantled by an enemy that was not supposed to exist. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded from his tactical officer. 15, sir. The same 15 that entered the system commander Haxor's compound, eyes focused on the tactical display showing his massive fleet being outfought by a force less than half its size. These were not the primitive humans who had been mocked and dismissed at the Galactic Council station. This was something entirely different and infinitely more dangerous. The final phase of the battle began when Admiral Mina led her ships in a direct assault on the main Corvani battle fleet. The aliens had arranged themselves in the traditional defensive formation, with their largest ships at the center and support vessels protecting their flanks exactly as their military manuals specified. "They are fighting by the book," Admiral Mina observed with cold satisfaction. "Time to show them we never read their book and wrote our own instead." The human fleet attacked from above and below. The plane of battle, using three-dimensional tactics that the aliens had never encountered in their long history of conquest, Captain Saros' intelligence ship jammed the enemy's communications network, preventing coordinated responses to the unconventional assault patterns. Commander Haxor's flagship, a vessel the size of a small city, found itself under attack from 3 different directions at once. His weapons officers could not track targets that moved like nothing in their tactical databases, while his shields flickered and failed under the impact of weapons that should not have existed. The battle raged for 6 hours, with explosions lighting up space like deadly fireworks. But the outcome was never really in doubt. The aliens fought bravely, according to their traditions, but they were fighting the previous war, while the humans had invented an entirely new type of warfare based on speed innovation and unpredictability. When Commander Haxor finally gave the order to surrender, only 4 of his 15 capital ships were still operational, and even those were heavily damaged. The rest were destroyed or disabled, their wreckage floating in silent testimony to the price of underestimating humanity. Admiral Mina accepted the surrender with professional courtesy, but she made sure her message was recorded for transmission throughout the galaxy. "This is Admiral Mina of the Earth Defense Force. To the 3 galactic empires, your age of unchallenged supremacy is over. Humanity has arrived, and we are here to stay." The news of humanity's victory at Kepler spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire, completely shattering the comfortable assumptions of 3 civilizations that had never known defeat in their long histories. Emergency sessions. convened in all three galactic capitals, as military leaders tried desperately to understand how their supposedly invincible fleets had been crushed by creatures they had dismissed as barely capable of spaceflight. Supreme Commander Veltaris of the Vexari Empire stood before the High Council. Her normally composed features twisted with barely controlled rage and disbelief. The holographic displays around her showed the devastating losses their forces had suffered in what they now realized had been a systematic campaign of destruction lasting months. 17 fleets destroyed, she reported, with her voice shaking. 400 ships lost with all hands. And we never even knew we were at war until yesterday when they revealed themselves. Openly, Emperor. Zekmoran, ruler of the Zenthari Crystal Dominion, flickered through colors that indicated deep contemplation mixed with growing anger. His crystalline form had survived for over 2,000 years, and in all that time, no one had dared challenge the three-galaxy alliance that had ruled unopposed. How he asked, his voice resonating like musical chimes. How did these primitives develop such capabilities without our knowledge or detection? Their technology was supposed to be centuries behind ours. The answer came from Admiral Kexnari, whose investigation had finally uncovered the terrible truth. They have been studying us since their first contact, she reported. They analyzed every weakness we revealed, every tactical doctrine we demonstrated, and they prepared specific counters for everything. We essentially told them exactly how to defeat us through our own arrogance. High Counselor Nexhara of the Corvani Swarm hissed with fury, her compound eyes reflecting the rage of a species that had never faced effective resistance in over a millennium. Then we crush them completely. Deploy the Grand Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We show the galaxy. What happens to species that forget their proper place in the natural order? The decision was made in anger and wounded pride, exactly as Admiral Nari had predicted in her strategic planning. Instead of trying to understand their new enemy or seeking diplomatic solutions that might preserve their power, the three empires chose to respond with overwhelming brute force. They were about to make their greatest and final mistake. Meanwhile, in Earth's solar system, humanity was completing preparations for the final phase of their carefully orchestrated plan. The victory at Kepler had been designed not just to demonstrate human capabilities, but to provoke exactly the response they were now seeing from the alien empires. Admiral Nari stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching displays that showed alien fleets converging on Earth from 3 different directions. Over 1,000 ships representing the largest military force ever assembled in recorded galactic history was approaching with the clear intention of destroying humanity completely. And utterly, Phase 3 is working perfectly, she reported to the assembled fleet commanders. The aliens are doing exactly what we expected and hoped they would do. They are bringing their entire military strength to our chosen battlefield, where we have every advantage, Captain Jiho. Now Admiral Jiho and commander of the Sol Defense Fleet studied the tactical projections with the cold calculation of someone who had spent years planning for exactly this moment. The alien fleet was massive and undeniably powerful, but it was also exactly where humanity wanted it to be. All defense platforms are online, reported Captain Yuna, now in charge of the solar system's fixed defenses. Stealth mines are deployed throughout the outer system. Ghost. Fleet is in position beyond Pluto's orbit and ready for combat. The alien armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system in a display of raw power designed to terrorize Earth into immediate and unconditional surrender. Over 1,000. Ships arranged in perfect military formation, their combined firepower theoretically capable of sterilizing entire star systems and reducing planets to molten rock. Supreme Commander Veltaris opened communications to the primitive planet that had dared challenge the established galactic order, humans of Earth. She announced, her voice carrying across space. You have committed unprovoked acts of war against 3 galactic empires. Surrender immediately and accept judgment or face complete annihilation, the I. Response came from Admiral Nari herself, speaking from Earth's orbital command station with calm authority. To the fleets of 3 dying empires, you came to our home system to destroy us and our entire civilization. You will find that was a very serious mistake. What happened next became known throughout the galaxy as the